Welcome back to Saga of Three Kings. So my head's off the top there. Um, this is session number 25, entitled Purple Light. Last session, the group traveled through, after befriending one of the Crimson Scarves, traveled through the tunnel, um, and is it Andy that keeps on okay, never mind. Traveled through the tunnel. Someone kept on typing and it kept on coming through, and that was you, villain. The thing I was saying, they traveled through the redoubt into a secret dwarven road that goes underneath the Icefang Mountains to the opposite side to the purple lighted town that they saw from the Icefang Mountains high peaks. Um, During their travel, they learned a little bit about the underneath of the mountain they're in from Ropes, as he's being called, the Crimson Scarf that they've befriended, and who is now buddying up with Raya. And then they ran into something that was out for blood through luck of magical punches. Um, Being vomited out of things, and magical jumping, disappearing, appearing, turning into animals, the group was able to escape a purple worm from destroying them. They've made it to the exit of the tunnel, and they can see the town from where they're at. Looking at the town, it is a pretty simple village and a very standard Osirian kind of structure with its crossroads in the center, and the main road looking like it's exiting out of the western side of the town from here. At this point, it is getting closer to nightfall, kind of that kind of nice, ruddy, kind of purple, red evening time. But it does look like you could probably push on, as this would be the end of the day's worth of travel. If you push on to get to the town, it'll take you another couple of hours from this point. But you will possibly suffer some levels of exhaustion depending if you push yourself.
So let's just make camp. Oh, we can survey the area, and Ropes can give us the rundown of the town.
All right. Ropes, actually kind of looks around a bit and seems to be, keeping an eye out for something. If you're planning on setting up a camp, I'm assuming you have someone who's going to be making a survival check to try and do that, right?
I do that.
You'll be making that check with advantage, as Ropes is kind of like looking for like a known position where he and fellows have camped before.
27.
Yeah. You managed to find a pretty safe campsite and tuck in. The advantage of this position is it's kind of away from the opening of the dwarf road, and it seems that it's in such a position that even if you were to light a fire in this position, the only things that could see you would be up the mountain a ways. Nothing on the same kind of plane from you or below you would be able to see. You're kind of like in a small little pocket on the side of the mountain there, just near where the road starts to switch back down the hills there. Because I wanted to say switchback. That said, you start your camp site, and Ropes is available for question answering if you have any questions about the town.
What goes on in the town in general? Is it just a normal town?
It's pretty simple fare. Again, I don't stay too terribly long. I genuinely don't know what they do for commerce. The town of Purple Light, it's I don't know. I know that there are a couple of roads that kind of lead into the mountains, so maybe mining. I assume it's mining. I know that the reason they call it that is because of the old Magier's Tower that still has its beacon. But it wasn't the name of the town originally. I don't remember what they said it was called, but it was some some draconic word that I can't remember.
Uh-oh.
Any other questions for Ropes?
Business dealings.
Oof.
Ooh,
Pick it up, Zach.
Who was that?
that's Zach. He is full robot.
Yeah, your video's coming.
Yeah, everything's going off right now. I'm sorry.
Does he get inspiration for role
did my
playing as a
question
robot character?
Adequately.
No.
No,
Damn
can you
it.
type it?
Can you hear me?
now
Well,
you're good.
Okay. I was asking, do the Scarves? Does his former organization do a lot of dealings here? Should we expect to see them?
Yeah, we'll probably see some scarves in the town. We definitely do have some business here. A couple of safe houses. I know where they're located. And in all honesty, I don't think anyone will recognize me. I'm not terribly popular in these parts. Yeah, I think we should be all right.
Beat yourself up.
Well,
We like you.
there's some sore losers, you know. I've taken and won a couple of gold over some pretty heated situations and games, and some folks just aren't too big a fan of losing. Kind of grins.
Is there any way you would recommend that we can avoid the Scarves, or
I don't think they're looking for you. Most of the scarves on this side of it are pretty disconnected. They are in league with Calareth and all, but I don't think that there's many cultists out this way,
Is there any way for them to send word here, or not really?
unless they're using their magic stuff. But again, I don't know why they would be concerned.
Has
This-
Calrest set up a specific safe house here?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Has Calrest set up a specific safe house here that
don't-
he's been using?
I don't think he's ever been to this town.
Cool. So probably no teleportation circle.
Yeah.
Do you know who the head of the Crimson Scarves is here?
No, it's been 5 years since I've been out this way, or it's been 5 years since I've been in this town for longer than a couple of days.
So is our goal just to basically blow through here, or are we clearing this place out? I'm asking the group.
We just came here so we could get down to the port, right?
I know, but there's a bunch of Crimson Scarves here, so I just...
No, I just wanted to check because I couldn't remember.
yeah.
we were coming here to head south toward Bellum? Was it Bellum?
Bellum.
Okay, thank you.
Because like, hey, ropes, cover your ears. If you guys don't have any connections here, I'm cool with burning down this entire city. Because that means there's no more scarves here.
Right.
The rest of you aren't allowed to be okay with that.
Surely the whole city's not Scarves, Grog.
There you go.
Oh.
Jesus.
Oh, it was a city.
Dude.
What happened to you, man?
He was deemed your protector, dude.
Come on, buddy.
Like, you and him became one.
You were supposed to coach him.
Who hurt you?
Real quick, Benson and Leon, go ahead and give me a perception roll. Real quick. And I'm going to explain the last leg of your travel and kind of what you come out to at the end.
13.
Okay.
Perception.
Okay. You'll have advantage for it, Leon, because you are tracking and tailing, so you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for. So as you are traveling the last leg of this tunnel trip, the first leg has been pretty kind of aggravating. The elk is not a fan of being underground for a very long time, as you noticed back at the top of Ice Fang. And also when you were entering into the redoubt through the secret passageway. But now you're in this big wide open tunnel, and there's like hundreds and thousands of pounds of stone above you and mountains, and you're going through, and you see what looks like a break in the wall on the right side, and like a whole bunch of like signs of combat and a fast retreat, which kind of denotes to you that something has happened here, something bad. So you travel a little bit faster and keep an eye out for signs of any kind of wounded individuals or anything to that effect. When you break out of the tunnel, it's dark, This is probably about 3 hours into your, those of you who are outside already, your campsite setup. So if you were taking watches, whoever would have been on first watch would be up right now.
Is that me or Ryan?
Yeah, the way I understand it is Riot.
I think it's you because I only need 2 hours. So I can be down for 2
You're
hours.
like the
and
middle
jump up.
one, right?
I believe how
Yeah.
it works is Raya does like a 2 block, and then
Well, Zach watches for 2 hours while I rest.
right. That's
And then
what
I
was,
pop up and handle the rest.
Right.
So yeah, it's me. What am I looking for?
Okay, well, nothing. What you do see is a majestic-looking fucking elk kind of gliding over in your direction. Leon, you kind of very quickly look around, and seeing the topography and the rocks and the outcroppings, you realize that the best place to camp would be right over there. And you're really good at this, and so you start to head over in that direction. And sure enough, you find your fellow compatriots camped out around a fire, which is very well hidden in this little alcove. And Shambles is there to greet you.
Jody,
And
add
they've
goggles
got-
of night to your character sheet.
Oh, cool.
And they've got a former bad guy with them.
Yeah, there is the prisoner that you remember having on the elk that they seem to have kept. Yep.
One of us.
Yeah, that's ropes over there.
You guys have a
That's
knack
it.
for picking up new companions.
us.
I trust your travels were safe.
Yeah, they were quick. Learned a lot. We can try some new stuff with that whole thing you got going on, as pointing up down on his body. Later, I got some really good ideas.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I'm into that. We're taking camp. I think we're headed into the city down below.
It's more of a
And,
town, but yeah.
Daylight.
Definitely kind of hop off as soon as possible and kind of go, oh, okay, well, we'll definitely get ready and start trying to go over the fire, make tea, and just get things going again.
Chody, now that you're looking at the town kind of from a different angle, and you can kind of see the tower and the light a little bit closer, not from a high mountaintop, go ahead and make me another Arcana check.
Sorry. 22.
So, you know that Magiers typically broadcast the school of magic that they kind of focus in through beacons. And the beacons kind of light their towers and will be ignited if they are basically presenting that they're looking for students or they're looking for any kind of assistance. A beacon can't really be switched off by anybody besides a Magier. So if this tower was, its beacon was ignited when the Magier was falling, and the conglomerate was basically getting kicked out of here, it could have been left on because the Magier who activated met some sort of demise. That said, the color that's being presented is purple, which in the magical color spectrum leans closest to one of two magics. The color of purple, the shade of purple that you're seeing, leans more towards necromancy, whereas a lighter shade of purple would be illusion. Although illusion can kind of, in its gradients, fall into any other kind of color with a tinge of purple, but this appears to be a very prominently necromantic dark purple.
I believe we need to move forward warily. There seems to be a bit of an issue up front, and I explained the whole necromancy and the torch.
Oh boy.
Maybe he's a
Speaking of
good
the undead.
necromancer.
Yeah, okay.
Hope you boys are ready. We purging.
Surely not everybody in the town is a necromancer and a Finscar.
Oh god.
I see that Raya hasn't changed much. It's good to see you, my friend.
It's getting bad out here.
I just like the benefit of the doubt.
You'd also note, Benson, that there's a dwarf that you've never met before, kind of sleeping on the ground.
Oh, hell, yeah.
I'm assuming a nice
Yeah,
Beldrug snores.
Oh, hell yeah.
We have added to our party, it seems, and someone who doesn't seem to want to be disturbed, we will make our pleasantries later.
Yeah, that's news a little up a hardcore is Beldrug. You'll meet him when he wakes up.
Yes.
It's all burrowed in the snow.
So those of you that aren't, those of you that you've just arrived, the elk is a bit tired, but not terribly so. And you, of course, from a hard day's ride, would also be tired at this point as well. So you bed down. Shambles, your first watch goes by uneventfully. Raya, your next, effectively, 2 watches will require random encounter rolls. Go ahead and give me 2 dice 20s.
Yeah, a 1 and a 3.
All right. So as you're kind of sitting there watching, and Shambles kind of goes into kind of inert mode, you're kind of lingering about, waiting, and then you kind of sense it, kind of feel this kind of motioning, something kind of moving around and causing kind of like the ground to shake a little bit. You kind of look around to the group to see if anybody else catches it, and nobody seems to kind of notice. You're the only one who seems to notice.
All of the ground is moving.
It just feels like you're kind of like the world's kind of moving underneath you.
I kick Beldrug.
You move over to kick Beldrug, and yeah, you kick him. Go ahead and make Joe. Go ahead and make me a perception check to see if you realize you realize you're trying to be awakened.
What's going on?
Feel the ground. Is it that worm?
Yeah.
You kind of like start looking around, and you don't really feel anything. It doesn't feel like the earth's moving or shaking or anything. Riot hasn't stopped for you.
He says nothing. He doesn't get it.
What are you talking about?
I don't know, man. Something's going on.
Hold on. Joe, go ahead and roll me a 20-sided dice. Just for fun.
And I just feel like the earth is shaking.
Oh, okay.
I got a 14.
Yeah. We keep wanting you to keep making bad rolls. You managed to pay attention and not fall back asleep. It's like, it's nothing.
Face down the dirt.
But yeah, if he wants you to be awake, and it seems like he's adamant about it, but you don't understand what he's talking about.
So I can feel the earth shaking and the dwarf cannot.
Yeah, as you kind of try and get your bearings a bit more, it doesn't feel so much like the earth is moving. It feels like the entire realm of Urs is off kilter, underneath your feet.
Then I go for Benson.
Okay. Before you do, Beldrick, do you stay awake and kind of keep an eye on Raya?
Oh yeah, I'm concerned.
All right. As you kind of move over for Benson and start to do that, you feel like there's this strange shift. And Joe, you watch as Raya kind of vanishes from sight. This weird kind of... And you seem to walk towards Benson, but then you watch as everything kind of shifts and bends and becomes slightly angular and different. Benson's still lying there, but it seems...
because I'm dead, isn't it?
It seems like he's not present. Like he's ghost-like.
Did I enter the avatar state?
You kind of look around in this weird state, and not too far from where you're at, kind of back in this weird little alcove that you've kind of set yourself in, there seems to be something on the back wall that's glowing bright white in this weird green haze that you're kind of present in. It seems to be kind of causing this weird, like, muting of the green closer to it. And as you kind of focus in on the light, you can see that it's an outline, and it's an outline of an elvish thin blade, just pinioned on the wall.
I'll approach it cautiously and greet it.
Okay. You can feel like something's pushing against you from the sword as you're walking towards it. And as you kind of get closer to it, you can start seeing hands kind of reaching for it and kind of being pushed back by the blade. And you start to kind of feel around, and you realize that you're not alone in this space. There
Oh,
are
so I see a literal sword. I thought that was a person holding a sword, like
No.
a type of elf.
there's a sword, an elvish
Okay.
thin blade on a wall. Sorry, no. It's not a.
I thought you said I thought Thinblade was like a type of elf standing there. I
An
was
elf-
trying to get to them. Okay.
An elvish thin blade is like a longsword, but more like a rapier.
Okay.
In the real world, I want to go to wake up Grok.
Okay. Yeah, you start rushing over and waking up Grok. Grok, you awaken.
Yeah, I would get up and wake up Shambles. What's happening?
Raya disappeared.
So
Well,
Jared,
Shambles can see all this.
I was turned around. I was looking.
yeah, he's looking back
We
to
go
where you
back
came
to
in.
back.
So, Riot, you're looking at the sword. You can see these weird ghostial hands kind of moving towards it. And as you're kind of standing there, you realize you're not alone. There seems to be other people kind of standing around, kind of looking at the sword as well. And each hand that kind of reaches for it gets pushed away. And it seems like
as they're getting pushed away, I'm gonna throw caution on wind and try to grab it.
the second you grab the sword, Grok and Beldrug, you're having that conversation, and you watch as Raya kind of rips into reality with a weird sword in his hand. The sword you're holding appears to have a very jewel-encrusted hilt with kind of gold and platinum veining all about the sword, the pommel, the sword guard, and the hilt. The blade is basically like I would say a half an inch thick. But as you kind of look at it, it seems to be kind of a bright silver-colored metal, which you would recognize if you've seen it before. I think you have in this group, mithril.
Yeah, we saw it. It wasn't identified.
Right.
But we have seen mithril.
Right.
Was the hammer mithril? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm back in real world when
Yep.
I grabbed it.
And you're
Are
holding
you
the sword.
describing what happened? Like,
I'd kind of turn around and show it to everybody, like
Where were you, dude?
right here. Look what I found.
Nice.
That's it.
Is the world still shaking?
Is it?
No.
I'm good now, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it's gone.
But
We're looking at.
Sorry,
He just
sorry.
had the sword appear in his hand.
Yeah, well, he disappeared to Beldrug. Beldrug woke up Grok. Grok woke up and was told Raya disappeared. He looked around for Raya, and then kind of in a flash, Raya appeared closer to the wall in the back end of the alcove you're in, holding a different sword. Well, he still got his sword on his belt, I assume, but now he's holding his other sword. But back to what I was going to say to Jeremy. The presence of those things that we're about, you feel them just kind of shift away. Like they are still there, but they're not on this plane, like they're in the near, and they seem to be moving away from this place.
Somebody take watch. I just drop down in trance to see if I can see anybody.
Okay. If those two agree to take the watch and you start to trance, you will not see anyone present in the near ethereal or the Feywild.
Okay, I don't know how long it would take, but if I don't see anyone around me when I go in, I just come right back out.
Okay. Yeah, it would probably take about 2 hours.
Wasn't there a time in the past when we had some sort of crazy horse, special horse, and we rode it into this area that seemed to be not in our reality? Is this sort of like that, or do we... Was Ryan, were you there for that?
That was me. That was me.
I was. I didn't. I didn't
Your
go in.
cohort horse led you in there.
Right.
I did not enter that realm.
Okay.
If you want a kind of spiritual undertone as to what it felt like when you try and talk to people through your haunted background tree.
Communion with dead.
You know, it just felt a little bit more direct than the listening for whispers. It was more of a just straight to the beat of the thing, and then
it was calling me rather than me calling it.
nothing called you. It just dragged you right into the other side.
Okay.
Benson pops out his spell book and starts kind of writing down notes in these pages. You see that they're filled up, but he'll start writing them on the side and stuff, and as he's talking about what happened.
Yeah, I also want you to cast Identify because I'm putting it in your face. I'm like,
Well,
what the fuck is this?
What
Here-
you got, bud?
Real quick, during your 2-hour trance, did you want to just attune to it?
Yeah, sure, if I can.
Yeah, if that's the case, it's a +1 weapon. that says when you hit an undead with this weapon, the undead takes an extra 3d6 damage, or 3d6 radiant damage. For the purpose of this weapon, undead trait, it's anything with the undead type.
Okay. And what sword was it?
The name
Rapier,
of
pretty much.
the name of the sword isn't presented to you, but just say ghost sword for now.
Pretty good timing considering we're going to the necromancer city.
It is suspicious.
And it's a base.
You will need this.
What's that?
No,
It's a finesse weapon.
Yeah, it's a rapier.
Okay.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
That'll stack really sweet with your sneak attack.
Sneak up on dead guys.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like with your attunement, there are traits that are not presented to you. Identify, you're not sure would help, but what Benson would tell you is everything he would be able to glean from it, you would have gleaned in that 2 hours.
Okay.
Benson, you would know that if you wanted to learn more about the sword, more powerful divination spell like legend lore would need to be cast on the sword.
Oh man. Okay.
Like an artifact weapon, dude. It's got like hidden potential.
I'm just kind of peeking at Benson's book over his shoulder. Some fun notes in the margins.
That's good.
All right. Your rests for besides that go by uneventfully. Solid roll of a 1 there. And then you, in the morning, at first light, are going to descend down the switchback and then head down to Purple Light. Correct?
Yeah, unless he has anything else to tell us about the town.
All I got was just the torch.
Yeah, Ropes doesn't have anything else.
I'm gonna hand Ropes' scarf to Raya. It's like, if you think he deserves this, he should have it.
Yeah, give it to him. Hopefully it still works.
Sure.
Just don't run off.
Yeah.
I look at him
He kind of looks
emotionless.
He kind of looks at
I
you.
will find you, and I will catch you.
He kind of looks at you and says, "This will draw attention to us, though. If you want to keep a hold of it, I mean, I'd rather not go in with anybody, glancing eyes at me.
I tell him to stow it in case we need it, in
Okay.
case we need him to blend in.
I guess I'm all right with that." He puts it in his bag. And you move from the northern portion of it. As you kind of approach the town, what you'll note is there's no kind of defenses or walls or anything. There's maybe a couple, maybe 40 or so houses that are kind of built up and around. There don't appear to be, or buildings rather, built up and around. It looks like there's kind of a, town center. And then on the northwest side, there appears to be a building with a massive tower kind of coming up the top, and that's where the purple light beacon is connected to. Beneath that, there are 2 smaller structures that kind of rise up a little bit, maybe 3 stories high at that. The tower itself is probably, I'd say, a good 150 feet tall. And then basically kind of a hall beneath that. It looks almost like a church connected to a massive spire. And then on the northern side of that building, you can see that there's a hill surrounded by a lich wall, and that would designate that would be a graveyard with mausoleums and such present within. And the only other big buildings you see are on the south side and kind of in the middle of the town as you kind of approach from a higher station. You're able to kind of see the town proper before kind of getting to it. I've used the Beldrug token as the current, just notational token for the party.
Mascot.
Yep, correct. Current mascot. If you want, I can pull people and do separate stuff, but based on what you're looking at, there's one building kind of on the northern side of town. Looking at it, it appears to have a smaller building to the side of it, and there's a lot of smoke coming out of the top of it from a very massive chimney. Beldrug, you immediately recognize that this is a foundry. This is where people make the metals.
We don't feel like there's any reason we need to not be seen in this town, right? group.
Where's the Major's Tower at? Or around?
Hold on, I'll ping it.
They'll be looking for a scarecrow.
Okay. I'll let them know that that's over in that direction. Should be the Major's Tower where the torch is.
Well, everybody can see it. The whole town is kind of lit with a purplish light, even though it's daytime.
Did you say that's a graveyard next to the Major's Tower, or is that a camp?
That is a graveyard.
Okay, that's what I
Oh
thought you
god,
said.
it just gets better and better.
It lines up.
It's, undead. Sword.
I don't think that's where we should start in town, but I'm also not opposed to it.
Rope says the main place I go is it's a Red Dragon Tavern and Inn, kind of near the center of town. Pretty big building, not too hard to find. But yeah, there's a safe house not too far from it, maybe 2 or 3 buildings away from it.
How many buildings did the Red Scarf control in town?
We've got 2 safe houses, or rather, they have 2 safe houses in the town.
And how much work is done underground?
Not a lot. We didn't really have any tunnelways here. There's,
Bedrock.
yeah.
Cool.
He after saying that, he kind of goes, not so much bedrock. Catacombs.
Of course.
Hard to clear out.
Dead rock.
Nice. So glad to have you back.
Yeah, if one guy said, and again, I don't know if he was bullshitting or not, but one guy said that somebody went down there with him, and the guy died because a wall, which was covered with skulls, like ate him to death. So
Is the plan here to go to the inn then?
You good place
Aye.
to start?
Hell yeah.
We
Ropes,
probably need to. I assume some of you need to refill rations and stuff.
Ropes
Okay.
gives a nod to Beldrook, like, hell yeah.
Can I do like a lap around the town and like take in the vibe, so to speak?
Sure.
I'm gonna have Ropes take me on the scenic route and point some stuff out if you want to go with us.
Sure. My favorite enemy is undead. I'm trying to pick up if there's like any track or sense or presence of undead fuckery in this town.
Okay, and
Kind
Bro,
of my goal.
so let me just make sure, you 3, just to be sure, because Beldrook sounds like he's going to the tavern, and when Ropes is basically told he can't go hang out with a dwarf and drink, and then he has to walk around the town and point stuff out, you kind of see this look like, yeah, okay.
We'll get there, just not immediately.
We'll
Yeah,
go
yeah.
back there eventually. That's where we'll end up.
Yeah. Shambles, are you going to go with Beldrook, or do you have other
Send you a seat rope.
with a scout?
I can't let the guy drink alone. I'll go with him.
All right. And then Benson
I would roll shambles.
and Drock.
I will stay with Shambles and Benson.
All right. So you lot are going to the inn, which, yes, you did correctly ping. It is this bigger building here.
Yep.
And the rest of you are kind of moving around on the outside. So as you're moving around and about, you see that Ropes, as he kind of moves towards the center outside of town, as you're kind of walking out this way, he points down and says, "See that little small building there?"
I wouldn't have him point at stuff. He
Well,
would know better, but to signify it somehow.
He
He does
can't-
his identifying marking.
He cants it to you, and he says, "Do you see that small building over there?" Effectively cant in a distance away enough that people won't catch the meaning. He says, "That's one of the safe houses. The other one's right around the outside of the place. It's 4 buildings down from where we're walking." And he says, "That's this one here." That one,
Are those 2 buildings tagged in can't?
they would be if you get close enough to read it. Yeah.
Okay.
He says the one over that way has a small shed out back, which leads to a pretty massive basement underneath that building, with sealed off passageways to the catacombs. The Scarves had them bricked over a while ago, but yeah. And as you're continuing to walk around the outside, he says, "That's the Curios's house. There. Um, he's a nice enough guy. A little older, but he, keeps the town going. I guess. Again, I don't know what they do around here for money. As you come around to the gate entry, he says the main barracks for the militia are there. The militia doubles as town's guardsmen. They're pretty dumb.
How many strong?
15, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, led by Rhonda Kelpham, I believe is her name, is the captain, if she's still here.
What kind of rotations do they normally do?
Typically, it's just 3 people on beat, and everyone else is down. And they usually just have one in the mains, one over by the tower, and one over by the Curios's house.
Pretty quiet town.
Yeah, pretty quiet.
Cool.
A couple of places have clackers, and it's a term you haven't heard in a while. It's definitely not one used near Moodus, but a clacker is basically a pair of
We found those before.
Okay. Large wood smashy devices for noise and alerts. And then as he kind of gets over this way, he is not cool with going around the outside. He kind of says,
he doesn't have to, yeah.
let's go this way. And as he kind of moves you past the front of the building, you actually see the front of the church / tower. And the front has columns which have been kind of carved into very gothic looking gargoyles. Most of them appear to have a skeletal kind of feature to them, and their wings are kind of bone-like as well. It's very ornate and definitely well outside Osirian styling. It looks very I guess you would actually recognize it. It looks like it's from Vitali. It looks like it is from the Centerlands, and it's very ornate. The tower itself is pretty much just stark stone that goes all the way up, and then you can see from this position down, so the light's not kind of shooting into your eyes. You can see that it appears that the top cage where the beacon is located is just a lot of metal structuring that's all kind of like darkened black.
How tall is the tower?
150 feet.
How many windows and such are about?
No windows on the tower. The only entryway that you can see into the tower would either be inside in its base or entering in through the top.
And windows overall on the building?
Not many. It looks like most of them are ornate and not openable. There are a couple of stained glass windows on the sides, like outside of the columns, and the like higher structure, because the first part's kind of lower than the 2 bits on the side. It kind of steps up. Those 2 points have some windows up there, but again, they look like they're lead and glass, and they look like they're kind of colored as well, so they look like they're more ornate than function.
Okay.
He says, yeah, a couple of people tried to rob that place back when I was pretty young, and apparently whoever had that tower before the war ended set up a lot of defenses. Most folks just stay clear of that wall and that building.
Is the cemetery behind it still in use?
Nope. But I swear to you, there have been some nights we've been walking about, and we've seen folks walking around in there as well.
I don't doubt it. Where does the town bury their dead now? Do they?
We don't bury. He says, how long have you been in Osiria? They burn the dead.
Oh, okay. No, not that long, actually. Are we still in Osiria?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought we crossed the border.
No.
Okay.
Osiria is the whole bit, and then you're in the kingdom of Munio.
Okay.
Yeah. He, yeah, but out of character note, they do burn their dead here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he leads you back around to where you started. All right. Meanwhile, I'm sorry.
What's the big? Sorry, what's the big house on the very north here?
He says it's a merchant's house. He does a lot of the. I've robbed it once. You kind of live in close. He does a lot of collecting. I don't know what he does for business, but he's he doesn't sell treasures or wares. He just likes keeping them, and he's well. I don't know if he's been the same way since, but I'd say about the last time I came here was because we were taking a jade figure from him, which we flipped over to some folks up north near the capital, or the other capital, not the capital, Munia. I'm talking about the kingdom capital. You know, it's
Cool.
While that's happening, you're keeping an eye out for undead stuff. You said, Leon. Go ahead and make me a religion check or a perception check. If you either one, you have advantage. Kevin.
Sorry, what was that? I'm reading a bunch of stuff.
Sorry, yeah. For you were keeping an eye out for undead stuff and weird.
Yeah, survival.
Yeah, either survival. No, sorry, not survival. Either religion or perception. Your choice. Either way, you have advantage.
Perception it is.
All right.
15.
Well, we'll go with the first roll since they're both the same amount modifier there. As you're kind of milling about, yeah, you definitely see that there's a lot of tracks of undead, and there's a certain smell to the entire area. Based on the ground, you're pretty sure that this whole place is a burial site. The whole town. You kind of come around to the hill where it's kind of up, and then there's a crypt, and you know that the reason why that's the case is sometimes they have a graveyard, and then the graveyard's full, and instead of ruining like soil over here by just kind of spreading out the graveyard and making it bigger, you go the route that cities go. You put more dirt down on top of it, and you put more caskets in the ground, which is now higher now. So it seems that that's probably been done 3 or 4 times on that hill, it being as tall as it is. And if what Rope says is accurate about there being catacombs underneath this place probably has a lot of dead people in it.
Oh boy. It's about to get a lot similar to the Battle of Winterfell in here.
It's definitely a powder keg in your mind. This is the most undead kind of potential, and also, I mean, it definitely has the vibe as well. But it literally, as you're walking around the town now, instead of it being kind of Ropes and Raya are having this conversation where they're like, "Yeah, I used to rob this guy," and they're like having fun talking about it, and you're literally like, "Ah."
Yeah, just thinking about what Benson said, like, yeah, it could be a necromancer, who knows? And then what
Yeah.
her friendly robot was like, maybe he's a good guy.
And you're like, yeah, you're not even thinking about that too, not just physical undead. You're also thinking about incorporeal undead. You're like ghosts. You're thinking like, there's a lot of things going on in your brain right now.
Not where
It's
we want to be.
unfair. You're judging a book by its cover.
Fair.
Oh, come on.
He has a craft. He stays near to his craft. If you're a lumberjack, you don't live near a forest. You don't.
You would. So
I mean, is a lumberjack innately a questionable dude with questionable motives?
Yeah.
Beldrug,
What the tree do to him?
Beldrug and Company, you make your way into town, kind of moving through the streets. The town is not very busy. Every so often you see a passerby. Most of them seem very confused by Grok, and are looking at Grok very confused. If Shambles is not wearing a cloak or anything over his exterior, they're also confused by him. And they just kind of give your group looks, but they don't seem to take too much worry for the halfling and the dwarf that are marching through town.
What do the people look like?
Hey,
are
guys,
they,
ever, you guys
are
ever
they,
seen
like,
a dwarf
gaunt?
before?
Well, you would see basically common clay people. They look like they are just regular folk. You see a couple of folk. There's like like a pack of maybe like 3 people kind of walking from the north side. It seems that they're covered in soot. It's 2 women and a guy with like really heavy leather aprons on, and they kind of have soot all over them, and their hair is like it looks like it's been blow dried for a decade.
Boundary workers.
Yeah, and they look like they're kind of heading the same way. If you catch my drift, but it looks like they're kind of stopping at some places as well. And so you make it to the tavern. Before then, you see the very recognizable symbol of the Red Dragon head for the Red Dragon Inn. You kind of breach open through the door, and inside it's pretty dead, it being morning time. And
Nice choice of words.
Haha. You see one guy behind the bar, and he is an older gentleman. Looks like he is not very well nourished. The skin's kind of just hanging off the bone. And he has a pencil thin mustache, like right across the top of his lip. For those of you who are familiar, it looks like John Waters is at the bar. And he is just kind of sitting there reading a book. His head kind of perks up as you enter in. He goes, "No, hello."
Oi, hello. 4 ales.
A dwarf, eh? It's a long time since a dwarf's been through this part. Most of them just stay up then, Red Axe. Interesting. He says, well, if you so wish it, I can bring out something extra special for the occasion, if you're interested in buying it.
Been huffing helium there, bud? Everything okay?
What is it you had in mind?
He reaches down under the thing, pulls out a pretty decent sized kind of half keg, and you see the symbol on it is the Mug Pounder symbol. Mug Pounder ale, down from Parnek. It's pretty pricey, but I'll sell you the whole keg if you want to buy it for 20 gold.
Oh, trying to rip me off. What about 10?
Roll persuasion.
Oh.
I bought it at cost for 10. I've got to make a profit. I'm in business here. How about...
Fine. 11 gold then.
I was going to say 13.
Beldrip, you're my friend. Let me throw in a few gold here. I'll top off the extra 3 from his 10.
Well, I think... And he kind of looks at you and goes, what in Latavius's light are you?
Thirsty customer, sir. It's impolite to stare.
I apologize. He slides the keg over and slides the coin away from you and says, any table's fine or here at the bar. And he sets the cups down, looks and he goes, oh, as he looks at Grog, puts down 4 cups.
Yeah.
Or he puts down 3 cups.
More for us.
He puts down 3 cups and then he kind of does a quick scan again. Sets down a 4th one. Sorry there.
It's because you're small, Vincent. He couldn't see you over the bar.
Anyway, even though we can't drink it.
Would you like a lollipop, little fella? No, I'm kidding. Sorry. Not weird.
Fireball.
So he hands you the 4 cups, and then he kind of goes back to his book, and he says, "If you need anything else, I'm happy to help. We don't really have much in the way of other refreshments, food or the like. Sorry."
I see that the torch is on. Do you know why? Usually that symbolizes help of
It's
some sort.
been on ever since I can remember. At the end of the Civil War, the mage who held this place, he was vanquished by one of the Inquisitors, because he was not willing to relinquish this territory. The Inquisitor's son would go on to be the Kyrios of the town. Andy! Why are you talking to me?
So the bowl pot, so there's a hot pad.
Hold on.
Thank you.
It looks very impressive.
muting Andy for a second. We could hear everything.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
You're on some other microphone than your headset.
Yeah. We couldn't hear you then. It was just we were hearing you while you were talking, and I assume
Very
your wife.
That is weird. Sorry.
No worries.
Can you hear me now? Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could hear you the whole time. I don't know.
Anyways, I don't remember what I was saying. What was I saying?
Benson asked a question about the torch.
It's been on ever since the mage who lived in it before died. He was killed by an inquisitor. The inquisitor's son became the first curios of this town and named it Purple Light because of its purple light. Not
Taking up residence in the tower, then.
no one. The paladin who dealt with the matter he tried everything in his power to purify the place, but he died a very old man, trying everything he could. And other inquisitors came in the 100 years between then and now, and they have failed as well. Some thieves have made their way into the tower and have never come out. It is assumed that the ghost of the mage here resides within and haunts that place still. Fortunately, he's not allowed to come out and about, or if he is, he's not interested in me.
Oh, all right then.
Any other questions?
What's going on with the town? Seems pretty quiet.
Well, our Curios has made a striking deal with the Red Axe dwarves to the north. They ship in their, we ship them wares we attain in the mines in the mountains near here, and they craft fine armaments. They pay us a high stipend for the amount that we give them in our mining materials, and we live a pretty cozy life up here. Some people get tired of the town and try to do farming, but unfortunately the area is pretty notorious for the amount of undead out on the road. So not many of those farmers are capable of keeping their settlements. The doors kind of open in, and the three people I mentioned that you walk past in the street kind of come in. Looks like they've cleaned up a little bit. One of them says, "Hey, Bill." Bill says, "Hello. I'll bring you over the bottle here in just a moment." And before I go and deal with that matter, any other requests or questions?
I think my friends might be hungry. You don't have a meal prepared, do you?
Unfortunately, no. It's pretty early, and we don't typically get the dining guests before high sun. So.
Alright. We are waiting for a few more of our party to join us. If it's alright with you, I'll grab another mug or two and an extra pair of chairs.
Of course, not a problem. Just slide them over from that table to there. No problem. And he sets two more tankards down on the table. Then he kind of reaches down underneath, pulls out a bottle. The bottle that he grabs looks like it is a crystal-like glass that kind of has a trapezoidal shape. It's probably about 8 inches square, like 8 inches on each side on its base. Probably about a good 8 inches tall as well. And he takes that bottle filled with a kind of murky greenish liquid and walks over to the table, sets it out, puts out three small cups for the three individuals, and then walks back over to the bar. If he isn't stopped, he goes right to his book.
I do want to ask him about the red scarves, but I don't want to out ourselves as enemies of the red scarves. Does anybody have any conversational tactics to bring up with our guy here?
I would say just ask them about the history of him, and then I can see where his thoughts go, or just anything vague about them and see what his feelings are towards them.
So real quick, are you going to cast detect thoughts at like surface level just to kind of catch
Yeah.
things that he might be? Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'll strike up conversation then. Are there any sort of guilds or parties of interest in the town here?
sure. We have the Metalworkers Guild. We any kind of gestures over to the three at the table. We have the Law Enforcement Guild. We have the Gem Cutters Guild. Very small representation therein, but still present within. They're just down the way. One of the bigger houses just down the block. And let's see.
With your beautiful purple light that's on all the time, I would think this would be a very, very big tourist town to bring people from far and wide to see it. Are there any issues with thieves or anything that I should worry about? And you see me kind of cover up my shirt, like I'm kind of like scared that someone's going to rob me or something.
No, not recently. About a month ago, the Kyrios invited a guest from the capital, and before the guest was allowed access to the tower, he was instructed that he had to perform a task, and well, we did have a small problem with some thieves in the town. But the Red Axes were very upset that the margins we were sending them weren't as high as they were anticipating. And so the Kyrios had the Holy Knight deal with those individuals. If you see anybody wearing a crimson scarf around their neck, the current law and order in place is terminate on sight and a reward of 150 gold.
You see me physically relax. Oh, well then it seems like you have a very capable paladin here and a
He
very safe.
went to the tower. I don't believe he's still alive anymore.
Well then.
Who pays this bounty?
The Kyrios pays this bounty.
Seems like a good way to make a living around here. Well, that is assuming any red scarves survive in this town.
I haven't seen anybody come in and plague my establishment as of late. And he kind of smiles at that.
Happy to hear it.
Alright. About that time, Raya and Ropes and Leon would arrive at the place. If you move the elk kind of to the side of the building, it does look like there's a small stable kind of area nearby. And you'd see a young lad kind of looking up at you and going, "Wow! A horse with horns!"
Kevin stepped away right before this.
Boo!
So let him just ooh and ah at the elk for a few minutes.
Raya, so he has a conversation with them off to the side. Raya, you would enter in with Ropes.
Upon entering, I would actually take my cloak off for the first time, and I don't know how long, and begin to brush my hair back.
You see Ropes kind of go, "Ah, shit," and kind of like look away from the barkeep, and you see the barkeep go, "Ah, Dieth, welcome back." Kind of smiles a little bit. Dieth kind of, shit. Hold on a second. Let me.
So out of my breath and can't. What'd you do?
So, he kind of looks over to the windows. I kind of owe him a bit of money because one of those fights I was talking about earlier happened here, and I put a guy through a window. They're not cheap.
I'll accompany you.
He walks over.
I
Hey!
keep brushing my hair as I walk over.
He kind of goes, "Hey, Bill. Hey." And the barkeep goes, "Oh, well, it's been a while. What happened to..." And Dieth, or Robe, says, "Oh, lost it. Don't really hang with that crowd anymore." Bill goes, "A smart move on your part." I do believe you still owe me 50 gold pieces for the window. Did you come by to drop that off? And he says, I was just heading over to do just that. And smiles, kind of looks over to Raya.
Does being an elf get me anything in this room? Any reaction at all when I took the cloak off?
No.
Are they more common over here?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Dia, you silly boy. Of course. Oh, don't worry, we'll be taking care of this. I do hope he's put his past life behind him. I've recently taken him on as a new hire.
Well, I really hope so as well, because I will let you know, and again, if you were about to say that you didn't have the coin, there's a 150 gold piece bounty on the heads of all Crimson Scarfs in the town of Purple Light.
Oh, my Dia is no crimson scarf.
Not anymore.
I'll say it. Sweet talking Raya creeps me out. I don't like this.
You're like, I feel
I'll
like I'm gonna be.
I am uncomfortable looking over the book veil.
Zach's like, I feel like I'm gonna be tricked into chores or something. I don't want to deal. I don't want
to whitewash a fence again.
Yeah.
I put the 50 out for him.
All right. Dias kind of nods his head. Good. Okay. And Bill says, "Well, what would you two like to drink?"
Oh, nothing for me. It upsets my delicate constitution.
Dias looks over and sees Beldrug and
I
crew
have a good audible laugh.
with a keg and apparently extra cups. And he says, I'm with them. And he kind of grins and heads over that way. Meanwhile,
our companions.
Meanwhile, outside, Leon, you kind of ride up, and there's a small stables nearby. And you can see a young boy kind of run up to you and go, "Wow, a horse with horns!" And Raya and Ropes go inside as you kind of are situating Stampy.
Well, I will reluctantly leave him with the boy and go inside.
You know that Stampy is going to take care of himself. Like, he's not going to run off either. He's chill. But, like, the boy is definitely going to... You see him pull out a wood brush, bristle brush, and start kind of going to the elk and start brushing the hair. And Stampy seems to be like, okay, pretty chill. pretty
Horse
chill.
with horns, I could work with this.
I was offended at first, but the brushing's good. And you go inside. You see Raya and Ropes finishing some exchange with the barkeep. You see Beldrug and the others at a table with several cups and a keg kind of in the center of it, half keg. It looks like there is a spigot on it, and they are pouring cups.
I'll go sit with them, but I'm not going to drink because I'm stressed.
Fair. All right. The only other people in the tavern besides you lot are three individuals who have a strange greenish liquid in a kind of almost pyramidal kind of cup, or bottle rather, and they're drinking it from very small cups, and it seems like they're taking them in quick swigs and going, ooh, oh.
Oi, what kind of ale is that?
One of the women looks over at you and she says, "Ah, it's the spirits of Wormwood. It's called the Green Fay."
Looks weird.
"You want one?" she says as she pulls her cup and pours it.
No, this here's Mug Pounder ale.
"Well, fair enough." She throws it back. Ooh. And they look very content. There's kind of a glow to all three of them, and they're all just kind of talking amongst themselves. So it sounds like they're shooting the shit. Sounds like they're gossiping about someone named Kelly, and they're really bad mouthing her pretty bad. She apparently is either a coworker or a relative of some sort, and she is getting soused. All right. I know that's a lot to leave you with. Like, there's a lot you can do with that. But yeah, there's really not much going on in the town.
What did you find in your recon? I turned to Raya and Leon.
It's like
Yeah, they have a celebrity
Yeah.
couple name. I get it. Heard it what I said.
I'm gonna say, like, in a whisper that Benson may very well be right, and there are definitely undead here in some shape or form. This whole town is a graveyard. Like, on top of a graveyard, on top of a graveyard.
I talk louder over him so that he can have his conversation with everybody else. And just keep complimenting the town about how charming and enchanting I keep finding it.
I gave Leon this weird look. I said, "There's no way that I would know." And then I used divine sense.
Yeah. So when you do, you would note that it doesn't kind of penetrate thick barriers. So being inside of the tavern, unless there's an undead in the room with you, you would kind of denote it. But what you do kind of get, though, is a vibe that something's off. Like after you kind of channel the divinity there, or not channel the divinity, divine sense, you kind of get this weird vibe. And it definitely feels kind of off. So you're like, I would have known. I know.
You might be onto something.
Yeah, something's not quite right.
Rope says we can just ride off. We're not even staying here, right? Do we have any business?
Wouldn't be great to run for something like this.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the undead. I'm not too keen to leave this necromancer to keep doing what he's doing. What I fear is correct.
I'm sorry. You must not. The necromancer has been dealt with. It's already gone. Some paladin came in and destroyed and apparently handled him. And then that's why the torch won't go off. Apparently, it's been on for years.
I don't know. Paladin coming through these parts, but there still being this much trace of undead, it just doesn't seem like it's adding up.
Out of nowhere, Bill kind of just appears at the table and kind of sets a small plate of bread on the table. And he looks pretty warm. It's steaming a bit. And he kind of just says, like, interjecting himself in the conversation you thought was being overshadowed. And he says, it's been about 100 years since the necromancer died. Looking at Leon, who, Raya, you kind of immediately recognize that, he can read lips. Because there's the only person he seems to be addressing is Leon. And he's the only person someone could see from the bar. And he says, there does appear to be a presence there. And people keep getting left within, as most recently a paladin who apparently killed all of the Crimson Scarves went into that place and has not returned. So, are you what I think you are? Looking to everyone, are you an adventuring group? Looking at the paladin, looking at the little wizard.
What gives you that idea, Bill?
Well,
Mind
you're
your own business, Bill.
We don't come in here asking you if you're a bartender.
Bill, I'm sorry for my friends. Of course, they love to adventure. These are my
Who is
traveling
this person?
compatriots.
He's the barkeep.
Thank
No,
you
no,
for
I'm talking about Raya.
Thank you for this bread. It looks exquisite. My compatriots are going to very much enjoy this.
A little bit of
have a talk at the bar.
Sure. A little bit of cinnamon and sugar, and he walks over with the
We're
bar with you.
just
Oh man.
Is the town in need of an adventuring party?
Well, I was going to warn you, since you seem like a pretty good lot, not to ask the Curios if there's anything that needs to be done in this town. He will send you to your death. It seems that anyone who goes within that church at the edge of town doesn't come back.
I walked by that church. I loved it. The architecture's very familiar to me. Do you know when it was built?
It was built well within the Civil War era. It's beyond my knowledge as to when it was. The town was built around it, though. Some of the buildings are newer, and the curios of Purple Light held it. But before it was called Purplelight, this town was called um, um, a Sheriad.
A Sheriad. That kind of sounds familiar. Also, is that name from here?
No, I believe it was the Magier who built this tower here, who named it.
That is very curious. I don't know why I know that name. Does the town have records? A library?
The Curios has some records, but they only date back as far as the end of the Civil War, when the first person who created the town for goodly folk, and not the conglomerate, when they started over the town. It's believed that there are records inside of the tower, but as I've mentioned before, going in seems to be a terminal end.
Ashred? Is that how you called it?
I think it's spelled, and he says Asheriad.
That's a very odd name. Thank you, Bill.
Not a problem.
I return back to the table.
You get anything from my sense thoughts or anything, John?
Yeah, he seems to be on the level, and every time he kind of throws a thought to the surface, there's no sidetracking. It seems like he is telling him point blank, like when the question's asked, he's recalling the lore. You can kind of tell it's not only from the spell and like seeing the thoughts kind of come up. You also know that there's kind of a typical tick for people. They kind of like when they look upwards in a direction, they're kind of trying to recall information, and he seems to be going through and just answering as kindly as possible.
So if I understand correctly, that he's telling us that the paladin
There's
was 100 years ago?
two paladins.
Two paladins. One that defeated the necromancer,
Correct.
and then he disappeared how?
He continued to try to purify the town, or purify the tower, and died of old age, kind of doing
Okay.
that effort. And he sent for more inquisitors to do the same, and they also failed at their task. And then the most recent instance of this is a paladin guest of the Curios came, and according to Bill, the paladin was tasked with killing all of the Crimson Scarfs and removing the blighted thieves from the town before he was allowed access into the tower. And so the Crimson Scarfs now have a bounty on their head of 150 gold pieces in town, and the paladin went into the tower, disappeared.
So Grok would ask Beldrug, I mean, why would the undead, if there's undead there, be there after the necromancer was destroyed?
Maybe it wasn't.
Perhaps it was a fake. Maybe he's still very much alive.
Rope says, maybe it's none of our fucking business. Like, are you guys thinking about going in there? He kind of looks at you. I mean, I'm cool with the crazy shit, but I just want to make sure I know that's what's going down. Because that's some pretty crazy shit.
To you, Bill. Why you asking so many questions?
No, sorry.
This is Ropes.
That's ropes. Hey,
Oh, yeah, Kevin wasn't
remember
here
what
to beat
happened? We saved you, ropes, right? We spared you.
Yeah,
You're
no,
with us
no.
now, right?
No, I'm with you. I'm just, what I'm trying to figure out, Grok, I'm just trying to, and again, I'm not trying to say no, okay? I mean, if we're going in there, the only people I would think I'd want to go in there with would probably be you guys. You're nuts. And now we've got a flying elk, the dude with the strange bow, and the hand of Mudis. I'm good. We're good, but I'm trying to make sure we're doing it for, there's got to be some kind of like payoff or something, right? What are we doing?
We're helping the town.
Don't worry, Ropes, I got you. If we're being sent to our death, we're being hired to be sent to our deaths.
Yeah.
We need to go talk to that Kyrios.
Just call from the Bill.
Yes.
Could you give me a meeting with the Curios? Is that possible?
He's a pretty open lord of the town. His doors are always open to any guests. No invite is required. It's just if you exit out of this building and head straight south down the road, you should see a very large manor house. It's about 3 stories tall, with very nice shrubs out front. But yeah, it's at the end of the road there. Should be able to find it, no problem. And I think there might be a militia guard there. But typically, if you just walk in, one of his attendants or the Lord himself will meet up with you.
Lovely. Thank you, Bill.
Not a problem. There's definitely a lot more laughter coming from the other table. They are definitely very red faced, and the gentleman who, if you've been overhearing, he says his name is Deckard. It's changed from bad mouthing Kelly to them bad mouthing him because he's admitted that he's been in a relationship with Kelly for the last couple of weeks, and they're basically giving him shit because to them, to the two ladies, he is slumming it. So, yeah.
They're just over there spilling the tea.
The tea is all over the place. Yep.
There's a whole little drama happening over there. It's
And
like another story altogether.
Deckard is very like on the back foot. Like, it seems like they are giving him shit. If you are interested enough to roll an insight check on that conversation, you can go ahead and do so.
Yeah, I'm paying attention. I got nothing going on. 14.
Not bad. It's definitely very clear to you because this is not a hard one to decipher. So the two ladies at the table, it's Belle and Melissa, and from what you can tell, Melissa is interested in Deckard, but because of their friendship hasn't told him that. And now that Deckard has basically mentioned that he is with Kelly, you can see that Melissa is very upset, and it sounds like Belle is trying to make Deckard feel bad so that he potentially breaks up with Kelly. Who
Kind
cares?
of thing you see 1,000 times.
Who cares?
Star-crossed. Shame, really.
They're all buff. I mean, like they definitely look like they do some work. Like, they are foundry workers. They are all just very fit individuals at that table, drinking absinthe and having a good time in the middle of the morning.
They have a late shift.
They have the third shift. It's great.
Who am I to judge? Anyway, let's go book an appointment with the Kyrios. If he's got an open schedule.
Rob's kind of
And
smiles.
talk numbers before we sign up for suicide again.
So yeah, I'm typing Rope's name because I did say it earlier, but I just want to make sure it's out on the table. But Rope's kind of, gets up and says, "I knew I liked you. From the moment I saw you, I knew I liked you."
Who's he talking to?
Shambles.
Because I'm a good guy.
Benson, your journal.
Yeah.
I'm put my hand out if you'll hand it to me.
I very uneasily hand it to you.
I write a word in it and hand it back to you, and I tell you if you can get into the Curios library, find everything you can on that word.
Kind of unsuredly go, oh, okay, I will do.
All right. So you head to the Kyrios as a group, or is anyone staying behind and just drinking more?
As a group.
Joe.
Okay. As a group, you're able to finish the calf keg pretty soundly. Those of you who were a bit more invested in the drinking, Ropes, and yeah, definitely Beldrug. It's early in the morning. You haven't had much to eat besides a little bit of bread. You're definitely feeling it. It's a good morning. It's the kind of buzz where you almost want to kick over a bird scooter, but you're not gonna. You continue on to the Kyrios' manor house, and upon approaching it, you can see the nice shrub. They are really nice shrubs. They look like they're perfectly cultivated and I forget the name of the term when you cut plants.
Trimmed.
No, it's like a bigger word and it's fancy. I'm waiting for the English professor to tell me.
Topiary?
I'm not
Topiary.
gonna do it.
Topiary, that's the one. Um, so they look like they're very finely cultivated here. The door is open, as Bill had mentioned, and entering into the main hall, you can see that there is a staircase up above, or a landing up above. And a
Is the guard at the door?
No. Staircase that goes all the way up to it, and kind of sitting on the steps, maybe 5 or 6 steps up, is a teenager, you presume. Looks like he is sharpening a knife. And he's just kind of sitting on the stairs, and he kind of looks up at you all as you enter in, and kind of looks back to what he's doing.
I'd just be knocking on the door and calling out, "Hello."
Oh, you can just come in. Are you here to see my dad?
Is your father the Curious?
He is.
Yes, indeed we are.
Dad! He yells over his shoulder. And you hear a... Yeah, one second. Hold on. Then you hear a whoosh, like a pocket door being slid open. And then you see a guy come up to the railing of the landing, kind of look down at you. Looks like he's just haphazardly thrown on a robe that's fancy looking. His hair's kind of disheveled a bit. He's probably in his mid 40s, late or early 50s. He kind of looks down at you and says, "Oh, adventurers!" And he kind of smiles. You hear him and kind of come down the stairs, then stop, and the kid's still sitting in the steps, and he says, "What did I tell you about sitting on the steps?" And he kind of like lifts his robes up. He's kind of pulling himself around the kid. Comes down. And he's like, "Hi, here. Hi. Are you, hello. I am the Curios. Are you here for the tower?"
Oh, we just happened upon your little town, and I'm falling in love with it. I'd just like to learn more. I've heard things about your tower, and my friend here would very much like to study it if he could see your libraries.
Yeah.
And perhaps we can talk about some of the other issues you're having.
Yeah, they say that the tower has a lot of riches and wealth for those who are interested in, killing all the monsters in it.
And that's just for the taking?
Yes, yeah. A paladin was here recently, and he got scared and ran off, I guess, because of what's in there. So it's not for the faint of heart. Only the best adventurers would be able to deal with it.
How recently was your paladin here?
Oh, maybe a month or so ago. He did handle a bunch of thieves for me, so I guess he was good in that regard. But
yes, I'd heard of that. You are aware they're still here, right?
Who?
These
the
red scarves, is that what they were called?
Crimson Scarves. Yeah, that's why I'm
Crimson.
Well, I have a bounty out for them. If you have found a Crimson Scarf, then you return their scarf to me, or their head, or just them, their body, or whatever, some token of them being killed, and I'll give you 150 gold pieces.
Oh, well, that seems generous.
We had a really big deal with the dwarfs to the north, and having thieves in our town has caused us a lot of problems. People who are willing to abscond the law are no good for worshippers of Batavius, and certainly no good for worshippers of Angum. So we have been very thorough, I believe. But yeah, definitely they are like cockroaches, and they hide within the depths of this town. So I'm certain that there are more, undoubtedly.
And you say the bounty is only for the scarf for the dead, not for the information of where they're located?
Yeah, unfortunately, it would be more for the physical production of them.
I see. Perhaps I can work along your town guard. I show him like the hilt of the new sword. I'm like, it's mostly ornamental. I'm not one for spilling the blood.
He kind of goes, "Well, how do you what?" And he kind of stops for a second and he says, where did you get that?"
Oh, it's been mine for some time now. It was handed down to me. I just keep brushing my hair.
He says, "It's you. Who are you?"
Well, most call me Mishrael, but if you care, you may call me Raya.
That sword. It's the saint's sword. Or Zodic, as the elves called it. And they... It was bequeathed to you.
Yes, quite some time ago. You've seen it before?
It's destiny alone. It's supposedly the spirit-killing blade. You must go to the tower and defeat the evil that resides within. It's fate.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
You know, it's not uncommon for adventuring parties to have champions within them. Mishrael here is well known on the east side of the mountains for handling undead in the past. I'm surprised you haven't heard the name before.
Please, Shambles, you give me too much. I can't accept that.
He's looking at you again. He says, "You traveled over the Icefang Mountains to come here to deal with this blight, this problem we've had since the beginning of our town's inception."
You'll be pleased to know Mishrael and ourselves have cleared the redoubt on the far side of the tunnel through the Icefangs. From that dwarven redoubt. You may find safe passage there.
I don't know what you're talking about, but you say that there's a road through the mountains?
Not through per se, but it was easily enough passage.
You literally are just surprising me every time you speak a sentence. I'm gonna need to sit down. He walks over.
Please. We do have this.
He walks over to a chair, pulls it out, and sits down. And Ropes is like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" You just hear him kind of say, "What the fuck?" in the back. Kind of like stay back a bit. The Curio sits down. So there's a road that goes under the mountains or through the mountains or whatever, around the mountains, however you said. The Saint's sword is here in this town. The spirit-killing blade. What do you need to get me to... Because you said maybe. It just feels a lot like fate, you know? To me? But I guess I could... From the outside, that could be seen a little bit differently, I guess, but...
Something we need, I guess, information would be first and foremost. If we could see the books, the histories, the literatures, learn everything we can about the tower. And are you able to grant passage into it? Or I've heard something about traps.
So it's more of a formality. Most folks are not allowed to enter into properties that they don't own, and since the Curios' properties currently are this property here, the Manor House at the top and the Foundry on the north side of town, those places are not allowed to be entered into unless you have my express permission. And I am giving you and your company here express permission to enter into the tower.
Easy as that. We can just walk in at this point.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And then my library, he gestures to a door to the right. If you just go in that way, all the books we have are here. The most you're going to get about the tower, though, are sightings by my ancestors regarding strange goings-on that they have seen in and around the tower over the last 100 years. There are some reports from some of the townsfolk, but most of those are taken as,
hearsay.
Yeah. Well, people just making up stuff to sound important.
It'll still be good to check. And I mean, hey, no knowledge is bad knowledge. And I'll go in and I'll start looking.
And who were your ancestors?
Oh yeah, my father and his father before him. My great grandfather. No, great grandfather. He thinks for a second. Great grandfather was it was great grandfather. He smiles, looking kind of sheepish. He was the one who came and killed the Magier at the end of the Civil War.
You were the descendant of the paladin that came and cleansed this place?
His son was the first lord of the town, and he was my great grandfather.
Very interesting.
If we were to take on this task, there be any equipment or provisions you could spare for us? I can't promise it'll be easy.
I would say that I could give you a writ of necessity, which you could take to the temple. If you go straight back up the road towards the middle of town, the building across the building on the right side before you enter into the main hall or the main square is the temple. It's not much. It's nah. A lot of folks here don't really do worship services on the Day of Dan. I do, and a couple of other people, but most folks just work and drink and get by that way, I guess. But I'm very religious, and I follow the guidance of Octavius's light, as a couple of other individuals in the town do. But they, to the point. Sorry, I wandered off there. They might have some holy water, and if there truly are undead in that place, it might be of some assistance.
That sounds most helpful.
That sounds like a thing we probably should get.
As my friend is studying here, back to these red scarves, the more minor task you have.
Mm-hmm.
What methods would be approved of removing them?
Well, so long as you don't cause any damage to property or innocent persons, it would be fine. I've expressly put a kill on sight order, so anyone who's wearing a red scarf, anyone has free reign to kill them. And you can kind of see Ropes in the back like, I can't whistle. I can't. But if I could.
And by property damage, you mean property not currently controlled by them, or any property at all?
Any property at all. If they do happen to be in some kind of house or something to that effect, minor damage to it would be fine, I guess. But we would rather the property be salvaged. So if someone were to want that property, we could.
I understand.
Gift it to the people who are needed.
So what do you guys want to do? Perhaps we'll move our conversation to the study, if that's okay with you.
I'm perfectly fine. Benson, when you head into the study, you can see that there are 4 bookshelves. Each one is about 20 feet tall, kind of subsectioned out into about 15 different kind of partitions. Double-sided on the 2 in the middle, and then single-sided on the ones against the wall. And so it's basically just ding, ding, ding. Oh, let me try it again. Ding, 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 ding. In between the 2 in the middle, there's a table, and sitting at the table at one of the 10 chairs that are kind of around the table is a young woman. Looks like she has got a stack of books in front of her, and one book kind of that she's currently invested in. And what you clearly identify kind of near her, a spell book with a lock mechanism on its opening. She doesn't seem to take notice of you as you enter in. She seems to be very focused on her studies.
I will try to just work around here and start looking for the ash rod. Any information on it?
Okay. Well, if that's all you're seeking, go ahead and make me a history check real quick, and I will...
Can I use my researcher feat at all?
No, so you're doing it in less time. That's what the researcher feat does, I think.
2.
You rolled a 2?
22.
Yeah, he got off.
It's like, how did you do that? Your intelligence.
Only the 2 came through, but yeah, 22.
22.
So you see that the books in this place are in the standard Osirian categorization order. The scriptorium is kind of in a very easy to decipher mentality for you. It's like walking around libraries in your own home. You see that the far left side when you first entered in, that seems to be all histories. You're able to kind of pick through and kind of denote specific points of interest, and after kind of reading kind of table of contents, realize whether the book is going to be important or not. and set it aside. So you very quickly kind of siphon through, a handful of books there and find nothing regarding the word that was written down and handed to you. The books in the left side, you absolutely just kind of pass by and disregard. It seems that these are basically trackings of very boring mercantile stuff regarding exports, imports, construction of things in the town, and any kind of like civic kind of things that have happened to present. The bookshelf that she's close to appears to be a bookshelf entirely dedicated to arcane arts and studies. Kind of looking to it, you note that some of these books appear to be books that were favored by the conglomerate, but these are basic texts, nothing too kind of dark and restricted. And then it seems just like a lot of magic theory too. And it seems like a lot of those books have been pulled out and are on the table in front of the young woman at the table there. And then the last bookshelf on the far side appears to be just family histories for the lordly house present here. The last name of which has not been asked, the name of the lord or anything, is Van Est.
So pretty much nothing on the ash rod.
Not a thing. And that's about an hour's worth of moving about. If you don't interact with the young woman at the table, the others would enter in probably about halfway through or very early on in your beginning process. You can see Benson going to work, grabbing ladders, moving up, doing this, doing that. And you enter into the study as well, a lot of you.
Entering in, knowing he's already going, I mean, I don't think it's going to help, but I would also start looking for that and looking for things written in Vitali.
Yeah, you can make a history check.
16.
Yeah, you're basically able to get through the first shelf in the amount of time that Benson will be able to get through the whole library, and nothing in the histories that you're able to detect here.
Yep.
While they're studying, Shambles, Beldrug, Grok, Ropes is just off to the side, not doing nothing.
You guys want to go check out that temple? See if we can get some holy water and whatever else we might need?
Sure.
You two in specific seem like types that should be coming with me to a temple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looks not-
absolutely.
All right. So about an hour down. Does anybody want to do anything else in the library? As mentioned, young woman at the table studying magic.
I would
Fair.
attempt to approach her.
Okay. Are you wanting to kind of like get a peek as to what she's looking at first? Not that you would know much about it anyway, but
No, more just get her attention, but as politely as I can.
She looks at you. Can I help you?
Pardon, I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you been here long?
My entire life.
I'm sorry. We're travelers. We've just entered the town today, and it's quaint, and I'm kind of liking it. I had heard something about the town being called Ashrad at one point, something along these lines. Do you
Ashiriad.
know about this? Ashiriad. And do you know what that word means? I feel like I've encountered it somewhere before.
The conglomerate name. I believe the root of the name is Batali.
That checks out. I've been there.
I think it means, she kind of thinks for a second, town of Asherad, perhaps? Could mean also town in honor of Asherad. Very similar to town being named in more common parlance. Mudis, Mortis, the like, representational of a thing, a root, and us meaning the town. Eod is kind of a transference in the root language of the Vitali of that kind of substance.
Very curious. Sorry to trouble you with this, but do any of these books, I assume you've been here a bit, are any of these specifically about the town's history?
Yeah, the book's over there, but they are only documentations by the family by my family, and our presence here. So
I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Raya, and yourself. What is your family? Sorry.
Alice Van Est.
I see. Are you daughter or
Yes,
niece?
daughter.
Daughter of the Curios.
Yep.
Very, very nice to meet you.
It's my hope that I won't be here too much longer. I am trying to make sure my apprentice levels are of a satisfactory degree so that I can be accepted at Savarice Academy, south of here.
Savrex Academy.
Savarice.
Benson, what do you know of that one?
You don't know about them? She says, confused.
Yeah, not personally. Magic's not a point of my study. That's why I bring people along with me.
But you're an elf. You come from Talanya, do you not?
I come from the world. I come from many places. I can't truly call one a root.
Fair enough. Benson Savarice Academy is the Elvish School of Magic. It comes from the capital city of Elves, the only city on all of the continent that is an Elvish city named Talanya. Their main focus in Savarice is divination and conjuration.
I would definitely focus on that, being like, yeah, you should know that.
Not if it's my area of study. Shut up. You're supposed to be backing me up, Dick. And how long have you been studying?
3 years.
And how capable do you think you are at this point?
She makes lightning dance across her fingertips. I know the basics.
Would you like me to show you where you're going? Because I am very skilled at that.
I'm always willing to take on a mentor if you have the time to deal. But she looks to you. She looks to the turtle robot dwarf paladin standing bored in the doorway. Ropes kind of occasionally pulling a book out, looking at the tile and going, man. And then you two standing right next to her. She's like, looks like you might have more pressing business. Some sort of adventuring group?
Oh, no. Well, yes.
Did
but
my
I
father
was
trick you into going to the tower?
Oh, we cannot be tricked into anything.
Did my father convince you into going into the tower?
He's asked us to go. We've not yet decided whether or not we shall.
Well, it's very dangerous. I cannot express how just the light understanding I have of being able to see the magic present there. That beacon is very potent.
Oh, we can't thank you enough. But yes, we've heard this warning quite a few times today, actually.
Well, good. At least people are smart enough to tell you the truth of the matter.
Yeah, but it is an intriguing building, and the construction itself appears to be from Vitali. Is that also correct? Do you know?
I haven't really looked too much into architecture, so I wouldn't. I know it's strange. I've only seen it once or twice in my life. I don't really leave the house much. She says with a smile.
That makes sense. I understand. That is the only building here that has that Vitali structure to it, right?
To my knowledge, yes. I do believe there are some. There are some catacombs beneath that have similar structure.
You've seen these?
No, but we did have foray teams go into the catacombs early on in our history. There wasn't much notation about them, and I don't think they knew the root source of them. But she stops for a second, pulls a scrap of paper, pulls out a piece of charcoal and kind of writes something on it, looks at Benson and hands it to him. It's basically a notation as to like a source of a book and where to find it in this library. And she says, I think that has some etching as to what they saw in the catacombs beneath.
I would quickly go grab it and start paging through it.
Yep, you bring it over, put it onto the table. It's a dusty old tome. When you kind of flip through, first couple pages are just more reports on boring stuff. Then you get to a kind of section that seems to be kind of like a sortie explanation, telling how this job is going to basically be enacted. Individuals going into the catacombs, exploration, If any opposition forces are designated, retreat and report to the captain of the watch, Melkar Keltham. This would be probably 20 years after the town kind of started up, based on its location in the books. And then you see that there are a couple of like drawings. It looks like they're drawn from memory by an individual, of very similar structures to the pillars outside of the church slash tower that I mentioned before. Basically, bone skeleton demons. And then there's notations explaining that just past this there were walls covered with skeletons. The walls started to move and we retreated back. I believe the access point that they entered in at that time, she says across the table as you're looking, was just near the church.
Is this a time when the dead were still buried here in Osiria?
The dead haven't been buried in Osiria for some time. She looks at you confused again. I know you elves are long-lived, but how old are you?
Honestly, I don't remember anymore.
She shakes her head with a smile. I guess I have a lot to look forward to when I make it to the capital of the elves.
But the actual question was, the catacombs exist beneath the church from a time when the dead were buried?
She says, in response to that specifically, yes, I assume so. But they also could have been built here at the time, during the Civil War. It seems that that's more likely a scenario. If this town was present before, if there was a settlement here before the Civil War, I've never heard of it, and we don't have any notice here about it.
So is it fair to assume that the tower is the oldest structure in town?
Absolutely, yes. This building that we're sitting in is the same age, but I believe this manor house originally served as a base of operations for a military.
This building does not share any construction with the other one?
Does not.
Okay.
This looks like it's Osirian made. It's not too different from the Kyrioses back in Modus. Just a little bit more open.
Pretty typical, though.
Yeah.
Cool. Vincent gonna find anything else in here?
Is there anything left or anything?
I don't know. Do you want to look for anything else that wasn't related to what I asked you to do?
Honestly, I'd like to take a look at the magic books and see if there's anything fancy.
As you kind of close your book and kind of move around the way, and kind of look over her shoulder to see what she's kind of looking at, go ahead and make an Arcana check. Okay. It's confounding. You kind of look at it and you see like there's some pretty basic stuff that she's kind of going through. But you also notice that there seems to be some kind of strange magic that... And then you kind of stop and look straight down at the books and kind of realize that what she seems to be going over is very similar in kind to the King of Fire and all of the magics therein that you presume are used for that.
I start asking what are you researching currently?
Well, Savarice Academy doesn't take too many individuals into its study courses and initial apprenticeship, unless you represent something that might bring knowledge to the school. So I, through my father, was able to acquire some books, translated to the common tongue, of course, by the Red Axes, of their kind of magic. It's called clockwork magic.
Never heard of it.
What'd you say, Chody?
I said very interesting. Would there?
She hasn't looked up to see that there's a robot sitting at the door, so.
Um, would your library be open for us to possibly come and research with you on this, or even possibly borrow and bring back the books in perfect order, of course?
Sure, you won't be able to glean too much from the books that are in this library. She gestures to two books that are near her and her spell book. These are the main books that I have acquired from the Red Axes through my father. These other books are more about the basic studies of magic regarding primes, and also the utilization of familiar. She looks up, and everyone kind of follows her eyes as she does so, and you can see at the very top of the bookshelf, no one having noticed it before, there is a cat sitting at the top of the bookshelf just kind of looking down at you all with that just kind of malice that a cat has, like, you know, cats, they're a-holes. And she says, and the utilization of a familiar for the expedition of magic in the lake.
Very good. Then we might talk some more on this.
But if you're a spellcaster, I'm certainly willing to trade lore for lore. I'll give you one of the spells I have that I'm having some difficulty with anyways, and you can give me something that you have. I'm very interested in a spell. If you have it in your book, I can copy it without destroying your book. Do you have the spell Alarm?
Unfortunately, I do not.
How about Arcane Lock?
Again, I do not. I would be happy to sit down and actually go through my book with you real quickly, so that you can see if anything that does interest you.
Well, it will take me some time to copy the pages from your book. So if I do find something I like, are you okay with spending some time with me in that way?
Be happy to.
Everyone else? We're not talking about a couple hours, we're talking about a couple days.
Yeah, we're at least gonna wander. We're not gonna stand here the whole time. We're gonna wander around the town and check out that temple. Maybe scout the front of the tower, see what we're looking at. But yeah, I don't have a problem waiting.
Yeah, we can spend the time to copy the book. I don't want to leave here for a little bit anyway. I think we're going to take care of the tower, and perhaps Ropes and I can go start scouting out the safe houses.
Okay. Okay. So if that's the case, who else are you taking with you to scout the safe houses? Anybody else?
It sounded like Zach wanted Grok and
Beldrug.
Beldrug because they're holier. If Leon wants to accompany us, he can.
Okay. Leon's good at killing undead.
Yeah.
We're not counting on running into dead yet. You guys do your scouting mission. We're gonna gather supplies. Garlic and silver.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's the case, what I'm going to say here, since we're getting close to wind down time, I am going to have the gathering resources situation be discussed in the side chat. So when we get to, and also the pen pal stuff that happened in the side chat, that when we get to next week, we can just kind of shift into directionality. I just want to make sure I'm reading the room right. Is the directionality moving into the temple?
Yep.
I think that's gonna happen. I think I want to deal with the red scarves first. If everybody else is on board.
Real quick, I'll cover that then. You go and check out the safe houses. They're completely cleared out. It looks like there is some very old stained blood on some of the walls. There do not look like there are any bodies left behind. It looks like all
houses are completely vacant.
completely vacant.
Okay.
Yeah, there's actually for sale signs outside. It looks like the person who is selling them is the Kyrios.
Oh, that's funny. It seems like we would have seen those when we took our tour of town.
No, because you were looking at them from you were looking from the outside and the back. So if you go around to the front of them, you'd see them. Because remember, you said you were on the outside of the town, looking at the back end of the
Yeah, but then we traveled from the inn to the Curios house. We would have seen the for sale sign 3 houses down from where we walked.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. That one is right. Did I ping this one here?
I think the little sideways one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I might have done you dirty in that regard, but I thought you entered back into the town
I don't know. We've never really said anything.
Okay.
That doesn't seem like a big deal.
At some point,
But yeah, if
we
that's
went
the
from
case,
the
if you
inn
ever
to the
go towards
curious
the
house.
tower.
Fair enough. All right. So then, okay. So pen paling, and gathering resources. The temple, gathering resources. We'll handle offside, and then next session we will start with a march towards the tower. Is that what you want?
Sounds good.
All right.
See why not?
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and kill the stream. Thanks for watching. All right.